Welcome to the Bucket List Life Podcast with Trav Bell, the world's #1 bucket list expert. Bucket List Life's mission is to help you get off the treadmill, stop Groundhog Days, hack your habits, and live a regret-free life. Because we know life's way too short not to live your bucket list life. So please welcome your host, Trav Bell, the Bucket List Guy.
Hey bucket listers, welcome to another episode of the Bucket List Life podcast. And I'm here with my brother from another mother, Brett Harmeling. How are you, man?
Doing well, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. A few technical difficulties before we start, but I'm surprised, dude. I'm surprised that I'm actually speaking to you and you have clothes on, because all I see, you know where I'm going with this. All I see is you in your sauna, all right, surrounded by red lights, and we'll get into that, or deep in a cold plunge. So I'm surprised that I'm seeing you in clothes today. Unpack that for me.
Well, you know, the last two syllables of the word distraction is action. So
Oh my God.
you always see me moving because I'm focused and I'm committed to living in the present. And so that's an important thing to highlight is, you know, focus isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. And that's where I like to tap in and just live fully every day. So that's why you see that.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing is that part of the morning, the evening, or whenever routine? You know, what does a day in the life of you look like at the moment? Because we're going to get into longevity, which is your sweet spot. Biohacking, again, sweet spot. But how long have you been doing the cold plunges? How long have you been doing red light saunas? And we'll get into all the other encyclopedia of other hacks that you've been incorporating. How long have you been doing those for, and how does that incorporate into the daily life?
Yeah. So I've actually unconsciously been doing cold plunges since I was a kid, you know, jumping out of the hot tub into the snow in Wisconsin. Didn't even know what I was doing at the time, but realized that it was really healthy for my immune system. You know, as humans, we're not built to live at 71 degrees year round. And so it's really important to put deliberate cold exposure and heat exposure onto the body. But where I started getting really serious was 2012. When I moved to Houston, I really got excited about biohacking and optimizing my health. I had just come off of a pretty decent bout of healing a brain injury from hockey. And so I got really curious about red lights and saunas and cold plunges. And, you know, there's a lot of distraction in this space. And so what I help people do, including myself, is I just have to remind myself to get outside. That's the #1 biohack. So if we talk about a lot of cool things today, #1 I want you to hear is just get outside. I see you surfing, Trav, and just living your best life. And, you know, age is not a number to me. Age is energy.
Oh, I like that. There's our first clip. All right. So what was the impetus for you to go, you know what, I'm going to step right into this? Was it a series of events? Was it a lead up with it? You know, a lot of people go right into longevity and get healthy and the whole bit on the back of trauma or the back of, you know, a diagnosis or something dramatic happened to them or a loved one, you know, or was it a gradual build up for you?
So the end part of this journey has been a gradual buildup, very methodical, very calculated, very regimented. But to begin, I just stepped into that space of curiosity, which is what I love about biohacking. Really, a doctor basically put me on all these medications saying, this is what you need to be able to think, to learn, to be. And I felt very inhuman taking these medications. And so I decided, actually this girl had asked to, you know, purchase some of these medicines from me. And I was just really confused because I grew up on a farm and I didn't know what designer drugs were. Well, Adderall is a designer drug and it's made to help you focus and think and perform amazing. But what it's also doing inside your body is ruining you from the inside out. And so thankfully that girl wanted to buy these high performance drugs for me. And that was the day that I said, I need to stop doing these immediately.
Yeah, right.
And so then I just got curious and I said, okay, whether you're a doctor, an MBA, blah, 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 all these titles, I just say, trust, but verify. no matter what it is. So if it's a red light that you're looking at, like, know why you're going to use that specific red light, because there's a lot of them out there in the market. If you're going to do a cold plunge, like, why that one? You know, how does it clean itself? You know, is it going to last for 10 years, or is it going to be like a solar company and go out of business? You know, so I really study not only products but people that are behind the products, and that's where, you know, we've kind of, yeah.
Yeah. And you've got, you know, like your mates with Dave Asprey, Bulletproof Coffee Guy. Have you met Brian Johnson yet?
Brian Johnson, yep,
Yeah.
yep. He's kind of newer in the space, but amazing guy. He keeps
Yeah.
it interesting all the time.
Oh, dude. So I mean, you can go down rabbit holes so hard with this stuff. You know, the stuff that you're doing and the stuff that you're surrounded yourself with, and we'll get into stem cells and all sorts of things. But, you know, turning 50 is like, the goal is on my bucket list is to become a centenarian. You saw the tattoo with 100 plus years on my chest. So that's the goal. And hopefully psychosomatically I can get that done.
It's part of the journey, by the way.
Yeah. So more ink, people, more ink to remind you. But the longevity, the biohacking, and you know, where are you on the spectrum? And I'll put Brian Johnson on the extreme, you know, on the extreme spectrum. He might not be the, you know, I don't know too many people in that space. You do, but he takes things to the extreme. He's got basically labs in his house, and he's a complete experiment, right? He's spending millions of dollars on it. Where are you on that spectrum? Because you can go down these rabbit holes, and, you know, where do you draw the line? And if you draw the line.
Yeah. So every person just has their own individual thing. And so I meet every client that I work with where they're at. And so part of the whole thing about biohacking and longevity is, like, there's no point in living long if you're not living a good life. And so I help people realize what their actual goals are, and which every person would love to live with more energy and vitality, with not having to do a bunch of more stuff or having to sleep longer or blah blah blah. And so the whole point is using your biology for you versus against you. And so that is what is all about, is understanding how your biology works with certain things, foods, environments, climates, products, lights, etc. And so when you understand that, then, you know, those little things create the macro. And so where I'm at on the scale, me personally, I'll basically almost try almost anything once. And so I'm right up there with Brian Johnson. Now, I'm not going to, like, administer this type of stuff that, or like go live about the things that I'm doing for my own health. But what I will do is create the curiosity to say, hey, when 15 years, when I join you at 50, you know, people are like, why do you still look like you're 35? And it's because all these little things that I'm doing on a daily basis, managing my outdoor time, staying connected to Mother Earth, you know, like, you have the benefit of being by the ocean. And so that ecotone, that place between the sand and where the waves crash, is the most highest charged place on planet Earth. And so if you can get that, if you can stand there with your bare feet, you're getting an amazing ionic charge, and your body gets calibrated to the system. And so when you're used to that and you stop doing that, you immediately see changes in your energy and vitality. That's just a simple example. And, you know, I'm here in Houston, it's like a concrete jungle. And so I'm just lucky to find grass.
Yeah,
But
I was going to say, yeah. I love that. Yeah. I'm grounding, even if it's AstroTurf, it's still green.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Repeat that for me. The most, what, you know, where the waves are crashing, because I'm looking at waves right now and it's crazy wind outside and crazy waves. Is the most what on earth where the waves are crashing?
So, you know, you can measure charge. So the earth has a magnetic frequency and a charge that it pulses at. It's called the heartbeat of the earth. It's 7.8 megahertz per second. And so we become dysregulated as humans because we're electromagnetic beings. And therefore we require light and magnetism to stay charged. And when we start losing our charge, that's when our bodies dump minerals and we become unmineralized. And our body then has a hard time getting hydrated. And, you know, hydration is like basically the foundation of health, is clean water. And so if you're looking at the ocean right now, where the waves crash into the sand, it's an area called an ecotone. That area of any part of the world is where the highest charge is recorded in terms of the most ionic charge. So when your bare skin touches the earth, you're getting the highest amount of energy from the earth in that specific spot. You go to grass, it's a little bit lower. You go to gravel, it's a little bit lower. You go to concrete, you might not get that good of a charge. And so that's where the highest amount of charges is right there in that ecotone.
Well, mate, I might end this podcast and just go lay in the ocean on the shore.
I don't blame you, mate. I don't blame you.
On the shore and just drown myself and, technically waterboard myself. It sounds, Brett said this is the way to go. So, who is that grown man trying to kill himself? Let me go back to some of these hacks. When did we first meet?
So you and I met a while back at a speaking engagement that you spoke at. I had shared a bucket list item and you're like, who do you want to be? And I'm like, man, I've been to 57 countries, 39 states. I'm crushing it at the bucket list game. But who I want to be is the hero of I want to be my son's and my family's hero. And I said that and I felt like a connection with you immediately. And I think a lot of other men that were in that space at that time also felt that charge. And I think from there, our relationship was activated. And I've always just been a big fan of what you preach. And, I know you do the 80 squares thing, but I'm like, you got to add 100 because otherwise you're selling people short.
Oh, mate, I'm going to, I think the next edition of the book, I've got to get, we've got to add 100 to that. And that might be, the title of the next book, The Next 20 Squares. Or something. Look, I'm workshopping it. But and in that, you've seen a lot of speakers. You're possibly the most networked human beings I know. You're in all sorts of different groups, and you got secret handshakes going on. It seems everywhere, and we nearly shared the stage there at YPO. This whole visa issue. Anyway, I won't get into that. I'm still going through therapy, but mate, you've seen a lot of speakers and who has made and you've been around a lot of personal development, but not just learning, you're doing, which is what I love. You're implementing, you go to these things seemingly, all the time, you're networking all the time, events, but you're the kind of guy that whether, you get home Monday morning and the rubber really meets the road and you practice what you preach, which is this integrity is why we're mates. You do what you say. One of my highest values. I know it is for you too. So over the years of seeing speakers, personal development, being around this sort of stuff, who has made a real big impact to you in the past and who are you kind of learning from at the moment?
Yeah, that's a really great question because of the exposure to these people and these groups that I have access to and the clients that I work with on a really up-leveled scale. I have a unique opportunity to connect with a lot of people, but the people that I really resonate the most with are the people that really draw to the heart space. Because I know that when people feel the energy of that heart opening up, that then they're open, right? That it's the same thing with biohacking. It's like I can talk to you for the next 2 weeks about biohacking products, but if your heart and mind are not in a place of absolute curiosity and just like, yes, I just want to learn, just teach me. And it doesn't mean you agree with everything, but it means that you're aligned with the values that I'm instilling. And so some of those teachers across the years that I've just go back to, number one, without a single question, undoubtedly is Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins has changed the trajectory of my life, not only because of the level of spiritual and energetic frequency that he lives in, but the people and the communities that he creates as a result of his events. He says something very specific. He's like, the first thing he says at Unleash the Power Within is, he goes, I'm not here to fix you. You're not broken. And when he said that 10 years ago, when I went to my first event, I started crying because I went there because I thought I was broken.
Yeah.
I thought I was a hindrance to the reality of to people. And so I made that transition of being a liability to an asset in every circle that I was. And I challenged myself to be in at least one uncomfortable situation every single day. So Tony Robbins, and then I have a few new ones actually. I've kind of, being the yogi that I am, I'm really in that ebb and flow of energy and love everyone and give back and share your resources. But honestly, I just recently have been pretty aligned with David Goggins, and which is really pretty
anti-yogi
polarizing guy.
Dude.
A pretty polarizing guy, right? And so him and then Tom Bilyeu, and then just recently have become pretty close friends with Tim Tebow. And I think his message just really lands home with me, especially on the God front. We're both, Christians and husbands and forces for good. And so between those people and of course you, Travis, people that just tell the truth, even when it's hard or uncomfortable, and you know that like the people that you're speaking to may not even understand what you're talking about, to just relentlessly believe in your pursuit of what it is that you bring to the world. Those are the kind of people that I follow. So, and I just go into all these environments and circles and rooms trying to get 3 to 5 things from every person, from every event. And it's not like a big thing, like it's just like 3 to 5 simple things that I can take away, maybe 1 to 3 new connections, and then I go deep on those connections and I really get to know people, because relationships is what keeps us thriving in life. You know, living alone is very not that cool.
No, no. One of our biggest fears, dying alone, you know. Hey, mate, what do men need to do more of, less of, start doing, stop doing, in your opinion, at this juncture, 2023? What do you think? General population kind of question.
Yep. I think it's in men's best interest. The world has never needed more strong men to stand up and tell the truth and to be men and to not kind of enmesh themselves with the divine feminine and to let women just be women.
Unpack that. What does that mean? What does that mean?
The divine feminine is like Mother Earth, like very nurturing, loving, caring. Like, you know, like you just think about a kid and like the mom is going to, at the end of the day, without the mom, the kid is pretty screwed unless you have a community, which ends up happening. Everything works out, right? But without the man, there's no protection, there's no safety, there's no security. And this might sound really old school, but there's never been a time more where like I hold the line for my family so that and it gives my wife the permission to do whatever she wants to do. And that is what I call like a superpower, is by me saying, hey, I want to make a lot of money so that you can do whatever you want and you can take bigger risks on your own life. Because if you're not more free with me, then we shouldn't be together. I want your life to look more free. And so with the world and the segregation and the separation, and you know, whether it's vaccines, religion, politics, wars, like our world has never needed men to step up to say, I'm not doing that, or I am doing that, and I'm gonna stand for this no matter what.
Wow, wow. Wars, religion, politics, vaccine. We've done it all already, mate. So where are you at with Andrew Tate? You know, as controversial as he is.
I mean, to be honest, I just don't really tap into the ethos of what other people believe in, because I get enough, like with my following, I get enough people coming at me from every angle that I have my shield up, right? That's what this whole journey is also about, is you kind of know when you've reached it, when you don't give a fuck about what anybody else thinks about you. And not in a bad way, but in like I'm going this way. And if people come in and out of my path, it's great. If I don't, you know, things don't happen the way they're supposed to, then they were supposed to happen just exactly the way they were. So
you speaking my language is, you know, it gets it gets worse when you turn 50. You really don't give a fuck. It's like, I've done my time. I've got the wisdom. I've got the life lessons. If you don't like it, well, I'm too old to fucking change. So, you know, this is who I am, and speak from the truth and be of service to everyone, you know, wherever you possibly can. I know that you're, you know, a big one for that. And so I mean, you've got so many plates spinning. What are you deeply passionate about at the moment?
yep. So I have 2 projects going on right now that I'm actively working on. Actually 3. So the number one is being a dad, right? Every day is a different journey. I know guys talk about it, but like more men should talk about the challenges of being a father and a husband and putting food on the table and, you know, protecting your family and all that goodness, because that is a amazing title, and it's also the hardest one out of anything that I've ever done. So cheers to all you dads out there. Keep pushing. Your kids love you even if it doesn't feel like it. That's what I want you to hear. Okay, I'm building a new private airline. It's called Verijet.
Now, I was going to ask about this. Like, I've got all these questions here. Unpack Verijet. What is it? You know, for people that don't follow you yet, but will.
Yeah. So Verijet is simply a new private airline. It's not a charter, it's an actual airline that is democratizing access to private travel. And so what that looks like is we're using the world's safest, most efficient jets paired with proprietary AI technology that allows our jets to go places where most other planes can't even go. So in America, we have a hub and spoke system that's nearly broken. More and more people are traveling. It's actually getting worse than it is better. and it's becoming a really shitty shopping and eating experience, to be honest. And so we're saying, why don't you want to get to where you want to go faster and safer using less carbon? So we're the only carbon neutral airline in the world. And so we're doing this, for instance, just an example, we can fly to 5,400 airports in America, whereas the commercial airlines only go to 37.
Really?
So there's a perfect example. So you can get to where you want to go faster. There's all these regional airports. We're going to, start to really illuminate smaller communities and start to build out the center of America, making our country more accessible.
What's your involvement in the company? Like, how did you get involved?
So it was at one of these masterminds. I just sold a tech company that I was a partner in, and I was like, man, what do I do next? And I heard Richard Kane, the founder, give his presentation on unlocking the fourth wave of high-speed travel. And like, I blew my skull cap, just came off. I'm like, holy shit, like this is it. This is it. And because of my circumstance, I've been flying, private occasionally since 2015. And so I'm like, and I love these kind of experiences. And so I'm like, he got done speaking and I'm like, I'm going to help you do that. And that's what I said. I had no idea what I was signing up for or getting involved in. And so now I'm a partner and I sit in that role of, building out all the strategic alliance partnerships. I manage all the money coming into the company and I'm creating massive exposure for our brand, which we just are closing on a pretty substantial round right now. So you'll see us kind of accelerate growth pretty quickly here in the new year.
And have you got you've obviously got investors involved and the whole bit, and they're little planes. We're talking little jets. What are the different models?
Yeah, so we're just using the Cirrus SF-50 Vision Jet.
Yeah.
The reason we're doing that is because most
got no
people
idea what that is, but yeah, I'll nod like I do.
Yeah, cool. So it seats 4 adults and 2 kids or 2 dogs. And so the reason that it's good is because it's simple, right? It's not this big Gulfstream. Our jet has 1 engine versus 2. And so right there, you're cutting your fuel cost in half, right? Boom, right there. The plane's made out of carbon fiber instead of metal. So there's no metal fatigue. The engine is behind the fuselage. And so there's almost 0 chance of bird or debris getting into the engine and causing an engine failure. There's an auto land function. So if something happened to the pilot, he croaked over, you could just push that. Our AI would find the nearest airport and the plane would land itself. And then let's say that all goes to shit. There's a manual pull parachute for the entire aircraft. So you still don't die.
So random. Oh, dude. Do you buy your own plane, or do you have to get a regular pilot's license? Is it a light aircraft license? Is it what kind of how do I get a plane?
Yeah. So we do have a lease back program. So you could essentially buy one of these, lease it back to us, and we cover all of your costs. That way you get year 1 depreciation. It's good for people that need to put money somewhere. But this is not the kind of situation now that our investment round is closed where you buy a plane. You just go on our website and you book a flight, and it's $4,000. It's dynamic pricing, but they start at $4,000 per hour for the entire aircraft, and it's that easy. And you just put like where you actually are, like your home address to where you actually want to be, and it finds the closest regional airport that we can land at, and it'll give you an instant quote within 200 milliseconds.
The chances of getting a Verijet over the Pacific to Australia, thoughts?
Well, we're starting in America. We have 21 jets in our fleet. We're actually scaling back, renegotiating some lease terms, and kind of like reshaping our business to go big. And so we'll eventually have 1,000 aircraft in America, including our Beta Alia eVTOLs, which are electric quadcopters that'll take you from your driveway to the private airport. So that's like phase 2/3. But then we're actually going to be illuminating the European marketplace pretty soon. The only reason that we're really excited about that, not the only reason, but one of the reasons, we're one of the only jets that can fly there because of noise requirements. And so we're 50 decibels lower than level 4 noise requirements, which allows us to, fly to places like Santa Monica and then all the little regions and small airports within Europe. So it's a really effective model.
That's crazy. So what's the website where people can suss out the Verijets?
Yeah, Verijet.com, Verijet.com. Super simple.
Fantastic. Now I've got to, is your mate Max Verstappen going to get into Verijet? I'm sick of your selfies with Max. And if you don't know who Max Verstappen is, you might want to, listeners, if you don't know F1, he's like 3-time world champion. What's your involvement with Max? I know on the fitness front, both from the same countrymen.
Yeah, so sorry you broke up there. So my involvement with Max is in implementing these high performance products, sciences, and tools into his life so that he can operate and maintain peak performance. So building that champion's mindset. So for instance, his physio, Brad Skames, we work intimately together. Brad comes to me. Like, just think about it. Max wouldn't go to Dick's Sporting Goods to go buy peak performance products. These products offer a major competitive advantage. They're completely legal, and they're just using science to optimize your own biology so that, traveling and lights and toxic chemicals like gas and being around high powered batteries all the time. So you can remediate the damaging effects of those so that your body can just work better at what it does best, which for him is driving a Formula One race car.
Better than anyone on earth. No, that's unreal, man. Like, I see you two hanging out, and big F1 fan as well. I know you are, and we're always rooting for Max. And what's your link with our friends at Aerial Recovery as well, man? Like, how did you get involved, and what's your link? How long have you been involved with those guys?
Yeah, so I'm on like my second year with them. I serve on their board of advisors. Before and during all these process of building businesses and whatnot, I did spend a little time in the cyber intelligence space, working in anti-human trafficking. And so I was trained with a unique set of skills and given a unique set of resources to help with the operations. And so because of those skills and clearances and things like that, I was able to really communicate with Jeremy and the team on a different level. I actually did meet Jeremy originally through GoBundance, which is the group that we're in together, Trav. And so from there, I knew that I could help them massively with my connections. And so between that, raising money, the trainings, just full integration, I'm just like one of them. I'm not a former military, but I have skill sets that are really utilized in the kind of things that they're doing, which is humanitarian disaster relief, which is anti-human trafficking, and then heal the heroes. Being a yoga instructor, I know how to hold space for people. I know how to move people through trauma and energy and breathe and meditate. And so all these skill sets are collectively utilized on behalf of Aerial Recovery. And once again, I can go back to everything that I do. It's like, it's all community. So find the tribe and the communities that you vibrate with and give them your all. Like, give them everything that you have. If you don't feel like you can do that, then it's the wrong community.
Yeah, 100%. And you certainly do that, mate. And thank you for getting me into GoBundance, an amazing community of men where we share and overshare in a great way. And I've told my brothers more stuff about my life than anyone else in my life. It's crazy. And meeting the GoPods, every couple of weeks, it is an amazing community. Cyber intelligence, is that another word for CIA? What is that? What's that background? You sort of skipped over that. Like, where do you get these unique set of skills from?
Well, when you work for a 3-letter agency in America, then you're given the tools to be able to make things that are invisible visible.
We're not talking about the TSA here. We're
Yeah, TSA for sure. And so being able to make the invisible visible allows you to be able to find basically anybody in the world. And so I still have access to some of these tools and these people. And so I lean into those relationships when they're needed, because it's just, we create these nodes and these networks of people that are not doing good for the world, and they're pure evil. And so we're exposing that evil by using technology. We're using big data. We're using, intelligence that creates cases that allow us to do the work that you can't just be like, oh, that guy definitely looks like a human trafficker. Like, actually, most of the time, you never know that
true.
someone is trafficked. And sometimes people that are doing it don't, and I know that some people won't believe me, but some people that do it don't even know that they're doing human trafficking.
Oh, wow. And aerial recovery, the link, the link with human trafficking and aerial recovery. I mean, I'll get it more from Jeremy, obviously, tomorrow, but, why do you love their, aerial recovery's mission, and what do they actually do?
Yeah, I love aerial recovery, and I'm called to serving with them, because they're taking trained and skilled operators that are not in active service anymore, and they're basically saying, hey, use those skills to still do good in the world, which means like they can't carry guns and things and kill people. But what they can do is they can go be disruptive and tactical, and they know how to navigate very challenging situations. They know how to, go for 4 days without eating and still get the mission done. And they also know how to help other people and lead teams of people in, recon missions during like hurricanes and things, and get people all kind of working together. And so that collective effort is super inspiring. If you've never done anything like that, you guys got to tap into the ethos of aerial recovery, because it's very powerful what can happen. Because like, people, like one of the biggest complaints about people that are veterans is they say, man, I learned all this stuff and I never got to use my skills. Like I sat around and we played cards or like da da da. And then you have the other end, the people that get overutilize their skills, and then they don't know what to do with, like, oh, I had to do these things. And so it's that beautiful blend where it's a safe place. Everyone comes into alignment and we make really great things happen in the world.
Yeah, the disaster relief is amazing. It started out of the hurricanes too, and down there in America. And I believe that's how Jeremy and Brittany met to create a recovery. And, like when the world is in chaos, these guys go in and, control the chaos and get some order going and get the basic needs met of the people on the ground and do some rescues. So yeah, it's amazing. And Jeremy asked me after the Dallas event where I spoke at the Go Abundance conference when I met you, mate, he asked me to be involved in the Heal the Heroes program, and I've been involved speaking for them. I've done now, I think, 4 or 5 talks for different platoons that come through, I think they call them. And it's just my way of giving back. And I love what they do. And the amount of people that have gone through that program successfully, and it's always that little text or that little DM or something afterwards. It's like, damn, someone's saying, Trav, I really needed to hear that today. It was exactly the thing, because their suicide rates of vets is just unbelievable. And like you said, they've got so many amazing skills that the general population, civilians, just have not got no idea about. And they sort of take those for granted. Now they're being used for good. I think it's an amazing program. Obviously a big fan.
Yeah, it's incredible. And Trav, thank you so much for, for doing that. Character is literally how you treat those who can do nothing for you. And so it's like super amazing to have someone instill wisdom. Part of me kind of future casting in my life is like studying men that have come before me, older men that have learned lessons, and I tap into their innate wisdom. I'm like, hey, when you had kids, like, how was that journey for you? And then I get to learn how it was, and almost every man that I've come across that I've learned from and really absorbed that kind of grandfather type energy. I've just learned that, like, the most important thing is not to be perfect, it's just to be present no matter where you are. And so I'm actively, our world has become so connected that we're actually disconnected.
100%. Yeah. We've got this thing now called the loneliness epidemic. Loneliness epidemic. It's a real thing, people. Google it. We're more connected than ever before, like Brett was saying, but we're actually more disconnected than ever before.
Amen. And, like, being perfect and like going for that, like, being perfect is the lowest standard that a human can have.
Oh, I want to speak just quickly about doing around the biohacking longevity piece, but doing hard things on purpose. Unpack that for me.
Yes. So community that I joined as a result of being able to go abundance is called the Epic Grit Club, right? And so it's this men who are doing hard things on purpose, committed to navigating being uncomfortable, because the whole mindset of what got you here will not get you there is very true. And so a lot of people that have a lot of money, or that they're just, you've reached that goal, or you've hit that amount of money that come in your life, and you're like, man, I just don't feel like you still feel empty, and it's because you lack purpose. And so doing hard things on purpose allows you to be the best version of yourself, because then, like, for instance, cold plunge. Why do you cold plunge? Well, there are all the health benefits, but what you're really doing is super simple. And it's like you're beating your mind, because most people don't do the cold plunge because they can't beat their mind. That's like literally it. And then, yeah, getting in is a whole other thing, but like how long you can be in and the temperature, all that's just variables that don't matter. The key is, if you can do it, you beat your mind, because you're not going to die. And so if you remind yourself how strong you are, and you train yourself, like, I'm going to live to 200 years old. I used to say that and think it was bullshit. Now I believe it, because you know why? Because after a time, what you believe, you become. And so even if I don't live to 200, Trav, my body believes I'm going to live to 200. And so then when I'm 50 years old, I'm only 1/4 of the way done with life instead of 1/2 of the way done with life. And so therefore my body just operates differently.
When we catch up next, I want to see the matching ink, but I want you to add another 100 years to yours. So, mate, what are the other, back to the biohacking, hard things on purpose? Absolutely love it. Firmly believe in that as well. And it's not just doing the cold plunge, like you said, it is the ripple effect into other areas of your life. It's, how does a cold plunge relate to picking up the phone and making a sale? How does cold plunge relate to a person, a guy asking a girl out on a date that he's really afraid of, or public speaking, or it has a massive ripple effect into different areas of life, right? So that is a huge hack, obviously. What are the other macro kind of hacks that you're doing that have worked, that you've seen work with other people, that the average Joe would be able to incorporate into their life that would make a big difference?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the number one thing is managing your technology, because if you don't manage your technology, it manages you. And then you live your life around technology when you could just be outside being in the reality of your circumstances. And so I say that because we're light beings and we absorb energy and light and frequencies, whether we like it or not, which is why that every person that goes into the woods or on a nature trip, they come back like, man, I feel so good and connected and well, no shit. It's because you've scrubbed your body of the frequencies that are resonating inside of you that are trapped, which is one of the reasons, like, for a perfect example, like, I don't use LED red lights. I use a hand blown red glass bulb that has a copper filament. So there's a big difference in these two technologies. One is artificial, one is natural. Every time that you can ask what product does Brett use, it's the more natural option. Because over time, your cells get overexcited, and then you're like, overstimulation leads to aging. So, I mean, like, that's what I'm trying not to do. And so it's by removing those barriers and focusing on being present, not being perfect.
Yeah. What about on water? You along, alkalinity versus, acidic, and what about food?
Yeah. So food, there's tons of diets, and everyone's biology is different once again. So you got to understand yours. Why biohacking is becoming so popular in today's world is because we're actually able to measure biomarkers. So like inflammation, the length of your telomeres, which tells you your biological age versus your cellular age. There's gut map testing, full body MRIs, all sorts of blood testing. So get a baseline, right? Like, figure out where you're at, and then figure out what works and what doesn't. And I'm navigating a pretty serious gut infection right now that I would have never known I had unless my wife did a gut map GI test on me. So it's like, no, and here I am, a biohacker, like in the space, like crushing it. But I had this thing, which is not allowing my body to digest food the way it's supposed to, which means that I'm gaining weight, even though I am eating an amazing diet. So it doesn't matter. So you got to know what's going on from a cellular level. But when it comes to water, there's a lot of great options. The world's best is to get a Kangen machine in your own home. Kangen machines, not only you can choose the alkalinity, but you can also structure your water through a process called electrolysis, which pushes the water and charges the water. So if you look at it at a microscope, it'll actually show the structure of the water. And if people are like, what is he talking about? It's like, you can drink a bunch. Have you ever drank like a bunch of like plastic water bottles because you're so thirsty? But then like you have this, like, it's like just stays in your stomach. That's because there's tons of microplastics and the water's dead in your system. And so your body can't even absorb it the way that it's supposed to and
Jesus
designed
Christ.
to. So you can drink.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You've ruined my day. So,
yeah, you're pretty much fucked.
Yeah, I'm gonna die. No, I was actually looking at water bottles yesterday. I've got to get away from damn cycling.
Yeah, so there's a company, by the way, Trav, and I'll happy to make an intro for you. Great example of what we're talking about. It's called Lila Quantum. So it's a quantum physics company. They make devices that harmonize frequencies and charge, and that's like, for instance, I wear their boxers. It has a Faraday cage around my private parts so that all this technology doesn't interfere with any of my reproductive systems.
Hold up. What? You've got a cage? Did you say cage?
Yeah, it's a colloidal silver. It's a colloidal silver fabric that protects from any EMFs from exposing to your genitals, basically.
Fuck. I want a silver cage around my nuts.
I know that went from 0 to 100 real quick, but they make water bottles, and you put the water in there, and it structures the water.
Oh no! It went from 0 to 200 really quick, and I'll be ordering those straight away because So you've Happy Life Labs. Talk to us about that, mate, because you've got a whole lot of different products and services, etc. Talk to me about Happy Life Labs and what you do for people.
So Happy Life Labs has taken many different faces, right, over the course of its inception in 2012. But the thing that it is the most is that it's a business that highlights the world's best biohacking brands and people and places. And so, yeah, exactly. So it's a very complex world. There's a lot of people that are entering the space. There's a lot of products that may or may not be good for you. And it's like very hard to navigate when you start like peeling back the onion, right? We created the world's best biohacking marketplace. And if you go on our website, which is actually being rebuilt right now because of, like we broke it because it got so big, in a good way. All of our products are third party verified and tested by us and our team. And so these are the world's best products. So if like you can't afford them, for instance, or you disagree, then just go buy the product somewhere else. We don't need to debate. The debate's already over. That's why they're partners. And so I'll stand side to side and behind any of the people that are part of these companies. And let's say like one of these companies like becomes number two, well, then they're going to get replaced.
Fair enough. Yeah. I love that. The fluidity. So, mate, what's your why?
Well, I want to be the hero of my own story. It might sound cliche, but that means that I am taking control of my own life and owning and taking 100% responsibility for the energy that I bring to the world in every way. And so I'm getting crystal clear on my why. Like my why for Happy Life Labs, for instance, is to help 1 million people live to 100 years old. And so that's my why for that. I've got a couple whys, you know? And so because I do a lot of things, that's the way my mind works. Some people call me weird or crazy, but I'm like, this is how I am. And so I'm going to be me. And if you don't like me, then that's great. There's billions of other people to be friends with.
Right. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Last question, aside from the contact, how can people connect with you? Imagine a stadium full of people and there's a raised stage up the front with a big booming microphone. You're on that stage. What do you want to say, and who do you choose to be in the audience of the stadium?
I would choose for all the underdogs, the lone wolves, the people that have these beautiful ideas that are trapped in their minds because they're just too afraid to speak their truth. And what I would say is the world needs what you've got.
Ooh. Dude, I knew this would be an awesome chat, an awesome interview, an awesome Bucket List Life podcast episode. It's certainly not boring hanging around you, and you've always got new ideas. You're an inspiration, bro. And suffice to say, cool guy to just hang around with. So I can't wait to get back to the US and hang out a bit more, brother. How can people connect with you? How can people get into your world?
Yep. You can follow me on Instagram, Brett Harmeling, and then also professionally, which tells my story a little bit more, is on LinkedIn. So just once again, Brett Harmeling, and just say that you heard about me on here, that, and I'm happy to open my schedule and connect. That's what it's all about.
Love it. Love it. Thanks heaps for tuning in, guys. Bucket List Life podcast, Brett Harmeling. Follow him. He's a man on a mission. Thanks again. See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to the Bucket List Life podcast with the world's #1 bucket list expert, Trav Bell. For more great content, go to www.thebucketlistguy.com. We'll see you next time.